Today we're going to talk about fresh plant extracts. And fresh plant extracts are done in what's called a 1:2 ratio, which means 1 part herb or plant by weight to 2 parts alcohol by volume. And we will explore what that concept means with 2 of my favorite medicine plants. They're my favorite because, gosh, each one has at least 50 to 100 different possible uses, and they can be found almost anywhere in the world, from people's spice cabinets to the grocery store and to many co-ops and herb stores, and just readily available. These 2 plants are, and the first one is turmeric, which is Curcuma longa in Latin, and turmeric roots are what we're going to be making a fresh plant extract of today. And one of my other favorites is rosemary, which is in Latin Rosmarinus officinalis, and both of these make exquisite fresh plant extracts. And we don't need too many things. We need some clippers, some measuring cups, some mason jars, some odds and ends, little scale for weighing, and the alcohol, which I get from a place called Alchemical Solutions, which does and specializes in providing organic alcohol. And so this comes as 190 proof natural grain or wheat spirits in this case. Normally I use cane alcohol or grape alcohol. For this demonstration I'm going to use wheat alcohol. And contrary to what most people might think, there is no gluten in wheat derived alcohol. It's just literally impossible. But this alcohol comes as 190 proof, and if you divide by 2, you'll actually end up, divide 2 into 190, you'll end up with the percentage of alcohol, which is 95% alcohol for this particular container. So we're going to do rosemary, and we're going to do turmeric, and the topic today is fresh plant extracts, a 1:2 ratio. Okay, our first example is the fresh root of turmeric, and it's turmeric fresh plant extract. Remember, it's done as a 1:2 ratio. Almost all fresh plants will always be done at this ratio, 1:2. And in this case, I have chopped up 100 grams of fresh turmeric, and I weighed it on the scale. And so 100 grams of fresh turmeric by weight. And then simply, if you times that by 2, times 100 by 2, you'll get 200 milliliters of alcohol by volume is what we need to make that fresh plant extract. Now, I prefer metric. It's so much easier in measuring. So basically, when you're doing a 1:2, whatever the weight is of the plant, just times it by 2 to get the milliliters of alcohol that you need. And that's pretty much it. It's fairly simple. 1:2 fresh plant extracts are really simple compared to the dry plant extracts, which will be featured at another time. Dry plant extracts are done usually at a 1:5 ratio, and so that's 1 part herb to 5 parts alcohol and water. That's the big difference between fresh plant extracts and dry plant extracts, is with the fresh plant material, we do not need to add any water to it. The plant already has water in it. When we do dry plant extracts, we need to reconstitute the plant, or approximate reconstitution of the plant with it by adding a little bit of water in with the alcohol. So dry plant extracts are done as a 1:5. Just as a reference point here, let's stick with the 1:2 ratio and fresh plant extracts. Almost all fresh plant extracts are done as a 1:2. 1 part herb by weight. In this case, we're using grams, to 2 parts alcohol by volume, and in this case we're measuring with milliliters. So that's the chopped up turmeric. And notice I've got all the pieces of turmeric fairly chopped evenly, and that's a very important aspect. You don't want irregular sized pieces in your jar. Okay, here we are just about ready to make the extract. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the fresh turmeric that's been chopped up. It's 100 grams of fresh turmeric, and we're going to put it in the mason jar. And one of the things, when I was saying earlier about trying to keep the pieces of your plant material uniformly chopped, which means not big pieces and little pieces and medium-sized pieces, because in order to cover the plant material with the amount of alcohol, I find it's very helpful to chop your plant material so it's pretty much the same size. And so there it is in the jar. And then now we just pour the 200 milliliters of alcohol over the plant material. And what we're really looking for in a good 1:2 ratio is the fact that most of, if not all, the alcohol is covering the plant material. And that's like a good 1:2 ratio right there. And then we put the lid on it and seal it up. And of course put a label on it. In this case, I might say on the label, which I'll show you in a little while, the label will say 1:2 fresh plant turmeric, organic, and the date I made the extract. So I'll show you that in a little bit. But that's pretty much a fresh plant turmeric, fresh plant extract of turmeric, fresh root. And as you can see that it's pretty much perfect. The alcohol is totally covering the plant material. Here we are, and this is going to be rosemary fresh plant extract. And it too is done, like all fresh plant extracts, mostly, as a 1:2 ratio. And here we have 50 grams of rosemary by weight. So we times 50 by 2, and it gives us 100. And since we're measuring by volume, it's always going to be in milliliters. So it's 100 milliliters of alcohol that we need. So rosemary fresh plant extract, 1:2 ratio, 50 grams of rosemary by weight to 100 milliliters of alcohol by volume. And just for you non-metric people, let's say you were doing a rosemary fresh plant extract at a 1:2 ratio, and you had 5 ounces of dry or fresh rosemary, fresh rosemary. 5 ounces of fresh rosemary. That means at 1:2 ratio that 2 times 5 is 10. So you actually need 10 ounces of alcohol by volume. So if you were doing a 1:2 ratio using a non-metric measuring system and you had 5 ounces of fresh rosemary, you would need 10 ounces of alcohol by volume. And this is the fresh rosemary that's going to go into the jar. And so there you go. The 50 grams of rosemary are going into the jar. And when my lovely assistant, who's been on The Price is Right and so many game shows over the years using her lovely hands as in demonstrations, she will now pour the 100 milliliters of alcohol over the plant. And with fresh plant material, it's often very good to tap and push down with a wooden spoon or some wooden apparatus. Push it down below the level of the alcohol. All right. And so you can see the first one that we did, turmeric, 1 to 2 fresh plant, organic, and we made it on January 24th. And then the rosemary, 1 to 2 fresh plant, organic. I had to add a little splash of alcohol in on, because sometimes this happens with leafy material. So in reality, it's not quite a 1 to 2 anymore. It's like a 1 to 2.5, and I will adjust the jar here shortly to reflect that. But often that is what happens with leafy material. It is sometimes hard to get all of the leafy material under the alcohol level at a 1 to 2. So sometimes it might end up being a 1 to 3, and that's okay. Just reflect that on your jar. It's still really going to be a strong medicine. It's still really going to be strong, and it's going to be effective. It's just not going to be as effective as a 1 to 2, which is a very strong extract. But sometimes that's what you have to do with fresh plants and that are very leafy. The other way to go about it is to use a smaller jar, so that you pack, in this case it was 50 grams of rosemary, pack the 50 grams of rosemary in a smaller mason jar, more like a pint, and then that usually works to cover it. But so in 7 to 10 days these will be finished, and they will be ready to be strained out and then bottled up, and then you will have a fresh turmeric extract and a fresh rosemary extract. Here's a little known secret. Most herbalists, most books say keep the herbs in the alcohol for 7 to 10 days, couple weeks, up to a month, in order to to make strong medicine. In reality, fresh plant extracts, especially, in reality, most of the medicinal constituents are out of the plant and in the alcohol within 48 hours. And so what this actually means is that if you really needed some turmeric extract 2 days from now, you could siphon off a little, and you would have a medicine. You'd have an extract that has probably 90% of all the constituents that it's going to, it's not going to get much stronger after 2 or 3 days. So it's just a little side note in my personal experience that in an emergency, you do not have to wait 7 to 10 days to siphon off a little bit of the extract and to use it as a medicine. At least wait 24 hours, but 48 would be better. And then I believe, through my own observation and usage, that you've got at least 90% of all that you're going to get out of the plant within 48 hours. Well, I think fresh plant extracts are fairly easygoing and fairly simple as far as as far as the herbal pharmacy techniques. It's one of the simplest ones, and we made a beautiful fresh root turmeric extract, and we made a lovely fresh leaf of rosemary extract. And fresh plant extracts predominantly always done 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, because sometimes you have to add a little bit more alcohol to cover the plant material, which takes it to a 1 to 2.5 or 1 to 3. You can work out the math and do the measurements, but it's still going to be a fine medicine. Advantages to doing fresh plant extracts. Fresh plant extracts, when using 95% alcohol, high percentages of alcohol, is the fact is you pull out alkaloids, you pull out essential oils, aromatic oils. You get a lot of chemical constituents that are mostly available in fresh plants for a short period of time, especially the essential and volatile oils. Volatile is a word that means readily evaporates. Both turmeric and rosemary have a lot of volatile oils that when these plants are dried, you lose that volatile oil, and many of those essential oils begin to degrade upon drying. So we use these plants for a lot of their aromatics as well as their other chemistry Alcohol is a solvent, and alcohol at high percentages, like 95%, makes for a very effective solvent. Essentially, alcohol is dehydrating the plant material. It's pulling out water, it's pulling out the chemistry, and it's pulling it out of the plant into solution, into the alcohol, and that's why we end up with herbal extracts or tinctures. The advantages to 95% alcohol is you get the most complete extraction. Some people will use brandy, vodka, whiskey, the alcohols that have lower percentages of alcohol. And I would say, like, if you're doing a fresh plant extract and you want to use vodka, try to find vodka that's that's at least 50 to 60% alcohol. It's not to say that you can't do a fresh plant extract with something that's 40 or 50%, but it's not going to be as effective. And some alkaloids and some constituents, some of the chemistry of the plant is not soluble unless you use a higher percentage of alcohol. And there are various books and charts scattered throughout the internet and in various herb books with, like, in the materia medica of these plants, like the preferred percentage of alcohol to use per plant. And so it's generally accepted that we never add water to a fresh plant extract. We use the highest percentage of alcohol that we can get our hands on. In this case, I like all my alcohol to be organic, and I like it to be of 95, 96% wherever possible, because I'm after the fresh aspects of the plant. I'm after the fresh constituents, the volatile oils that could be gone when I dry the plant. If the plant has alkaloids or resins or hard chemistry that's not water soluble, I need high percentages of alcohol in order to get that medicine out of the plant and into solution. So you could use vodka, but try to get it close to 60%. I don't know if there's vodka available that's higher than 60%. Vodka is usually the preferred. If you can't get organic alcohol and you're kind of pressed for finding a source of organic alcohol, you can, some liquor stores and grocery stores in the United States, not every state, but the majority of the states, you can buy what's called Everclear. And that's, I believe, 96% alcohol. It's much more expensive than organic alcohol from alchemical solutions, but it's sometimes when traveling and you're in the field and you run out of alcohol and you want to make fresh plant extracts, sometimes you have to find a liquor store and buy some bottle of Everclear. I don't really use vodka anymore, but a lot of people who first start doing herbal medicine can't really locate organic alcohol, and so that they, or even the Everclear at their liquor store or grocery store. So the next available choice is the high alcohol content of some vodkas, which come close to being like 60%. Remember, when you see proof on the bottle, in this case, this was 190 proof. You need to divide by 2 to get the percentage of alcohol. So this was 190 proof, divide by 2 gives you 95% alcohol content. And you know, we kind of ignore the proof aspect. We want to know what the percentage of alcohol is in that bottle of liquor that you're using. So, but I hope that explains fresh plant extracts. And let's see, just to recap real quickly, rosemary was done at a 1:2 ratio, and we used 50 grams of the fresh plant, and we chopped it up, kind of try to chop it up very uniform like, and then we measured out 100 milliliters of 95% alcohol and covered it up. And in this case, we had to splash in a little bit extra to totally cover it. And we could eliminate that problem by putting the rosemary in a smaller, like, pint jar where it's all contained, and then you pour the alcohol, and the alcohol should at that point totally cover it up. The turmeric was also done as a 1:2 fresh plant extract, and we used 100 grams of the chopped up turmeric, fairly uniformed, and we measured out 200 milliliters of 95% alcohol. and to end up with a very lovely fresh root turmeric extract. Both of these, if I needed them, I could use some of this to, let's say 2 days from now. I could siphon off a little. I wouldn't decant or strain the whole batches, but I would, if I needed a little bit for a formula, or needed it, you know, I was out of turmeric and I needed it specifically in a formula for somebody a couple days from now, I can siphon off a little bit of a fresh plant extract and pretty much be assured that I've got at least 90% of what I'm going to get. In waiting 7 to 10 days, you're not going to get much more. Most of the solvent action of the alcohol has already happened within the first 48 hours. So fresh plant extracts are elegant. They, and often, in many cases, are very superior because they provide us with a higher array of chemistry. You can leave your fresh plant material in here for way beyond 2 weeks. I mean, you can come back and decant this 2 months from now if you want. And sometimes when you start accumulating lots of extracts, you've got a shelf with 50 or 100. You don't get to them in 7 or 10 days to decant them, and they sit in the jar for months, and that's perfectly fine. So this was fresh plant extracts, and these are 2 great examples of how to do that. Thank you.